So there's the joke that the rabbis tell, and it goes as follows. There was a rabbi, and he was hired to be the new lead of a congregation. And the first Shabbat, he got up and he started talking about the beauty of Shabbos, the beauty of Shabbat, and marking Shabbat, and making Kiddush and Hamotzi, and sanctifying the day. And afterwards, the members of the board who hired him came over and said, like, Rabbi, welcome, thank you so much, but, the members of this congregation, they're not so observant, and I think that you really should not talk about Shabbos and Shabbat. Probably avoid that. He's like, oh, well, okay. So the next week he gets up and he starts talking about kashrut, about keeping kosher and milk and meat and life and death and meaning. And afterwards they came over to him and they said, Rabbi, you know what, like very few of our congregants, you're making them feel uncomfortable. Like I don't think you should talk about keeping kosher. It's like, okay. So the next week he gets up and he starts talking about mikvah and family purity and sanctity in the home. And afterwards the board went over and said, Rabbi, mikvah? No, not here. The rabbi at this point is exasperated. He goes, what do you want me to talk about? They said Judaism. So I'm doing a series locally on Shabbat morning on the 613 commandments. I'm going through a series based on the Rambam, Maimonides, and I'm going through the commandments that just apply today. Not the ones that have to do with sacrifices, not the ones that only apply to Israel, but the ones that the audience, that it applies to them today. So in the 613 commandments, last week I was doing the one on kashrut, on keeping kosher. There's many, many commandments about it and about what makes a kosher animal and slaughtering it in a kosher way. And we're talking about the philosophy of kosher. We're talking about the ideas of it and where does it fall and how does it apply. And it's not all or nothing. And even if you're buying kosher meat and you're keeping your milk and meat separate and you avoid the shellfish, you're doing 80% of kosher. And 80 is a good grade, right? So I'm giving this over and I'm sharing it. And afterwards I found out that there's one or two people in the audience who felt uncomfortable that I'm talking about kosher because maybe it would offend somebody. Maybe it's not something, and I thought of that joke. We're all at different levels and we're all on a different journey. The Jewish journey ends at your last breath. It's not all or nothing. But unless you have information, unless you're empowered with information, how can you make good choices? Jews don't leave Judaism because of what they know. They leave because of what they don't know. I'm hoping I'm sharing it in a way that a person understands that it's not all or nothing, and that sometimes I'm filing this away and maybe accessing it later, or maybe I'm using this information to understand people around me who may be at a different level. But let's not be afraid to know. Knowledge is power. I'm Lori, Amos Live.